παραγωγή του σημερινού επεισοδίου είναι μια ευγενή χορηγία της LLPO Law Firm, Gold Sponsors του Fengaros High. So, I have with me today Della. I don't like to call people what they are, well, obviously you're an artist. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today. I know you have a busy schedule. You're still in high school, so you have, you're also the president of your high school, so you have artistic and also school things that you need to attend to, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. I want to thank you double, though, because last year when we started this thing, you were supposed to be doing these podcasts.
I was.
But you messed up your schedule and you couldn't do it, so I was thrown in to do it. But thank you for that, because I'm really enjoying doing them.
And it's my pleasure to be on the opposite side of this.
So it's lovely. So we have a lot of things to talk about. I mean, obviously, I know you for a couple of years now, and usually when we talk, it's mainly silly things. So there's not been a time that we actually spoke, about
it's very different context, very serious.
We never talked about anything seriously, besides that time when I remember you called me and you won't believe this, but at school they told me something about, you told them you want to follow music, and they said, why do you want to do that?
Yeah, I had
Can you tell me about that?
I think it's not even a school thing, generally, adults, and I think being in Cyprus, but it's everywhere. There's a big stigma around the arts in general. So if you want to go do art, as in drawing, painting, if you want to be a musician, if you want to go into film, there's a very big stigma, and it's oriented towards but what about the money, and how are you going to do it? And obviously I'm talking from very little experience. I find that there isn't this issue with money or being able to make it or being able to do it, as long as you know how to get your act together and work when you need to. But going back to what you asked, I think that a lot of people, especially the older generation, I think it's getting more accepted. There's a huge stigma around going into the arts and studying it, as opposed to just being a hobby that you have on the side.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a word in that answer, and it was work. So I think, isn't that a concept that is a bit misunderstood about art, like work?
Definitely.
Yeah, so work as a job or work as actually putting the hours in, right?
I mean, it's obviously a balance of both, and it is two different things, but I was referring to the actual hours that you put into it. I mean, when I was younger, I know that I looked at music and I would say that, you just go rehearse, then you go home, you sleep, you go to live, have a drink maybe before with your bandmates, play, have a few drinks afterwards, maybe a few too many, and then you go home. But I mean,
that's life, though, isn't it?
It's a countless number of Word documents, phone calls, riders. My cable's broken. What do? I've got to improvise last minute. Gas money. It's not just this, you walk in, rock and roll, play, get down. There's this huge, and I guess it's up to each artist. This might not be the same for other people, and I might be doing something wrong. I have a lot to learn, but there's so much effort and structure that goes into it. It's not this rock and roll, nonchalant, just chill lifestyle.
And also the art, right?
Yeah,
definitely. You need to write the songs, and you spend the time and also have the experiences to write the songs. But since you have, you told us a bit about your experience, can you tell us, when did you start? Actually, I remember you telling me, I told you something like, are you gonna do a band or something? And you were like, yeah, but I'm between rock or hip hop. What should I do? I don't remember what I answered, but so when was that before now that you're actually doing it?
Well,
how did it start?
Funnily enough, I think most people I know, at least that are musicians, it's always this, my dad had a guitar, I picked it up. No one in my family played music. Bless my parents, both of them, but no one played music, none of that. They always exposed me to really good music, Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses. I grew up on that. But I remember we were passing by a music store or something, and we stopped, and it was a keyboard for sure. I'm a bit foggy now, but I remember there was a keyboard. I started playing, and I realized that it's almost as if that was it. There was just silence.
Instant.
Everything else was blocked out, and I was just in the moment. And it was never, I didn't know that I wanted to follow and pursue music seriously until maybe 1 or 2 years ago. It was just always this feeling of, yeah, I'm sort of good at this, I'm sort of good at that, I'm sort of good at this. But then it was music, and I was like, oh, like, aschedos me doan, if I'm good or not, this is where I actually just feel at peace and everything feels correct. So I started playing the piano, no lessons, just by myself. Then I attended guitar lessons for a short while and a couple of singing lessons. And then, I don't know if it's the wrong or right decision, but I was just like, no time, can't do this. Went home, kept practicing at home, and I found personally, actually, that the best thing in my development as a musician was playing with other people. And this isn't, I mean, I love Fengaros because I love Fengaros. It has nothing to do with you or, you know, I'm very straightforward. But I think the biggest part of my development as a musician wasn't it. I think it's mainly owed to the jam sessions that they do at Fengaros. Nothing else, specifically the jam sessions. And it's a combination
Music
of...
Village, you mean?
Yeah, so Musical Chorion, not the festival. It's mainly learning how to look at, let's say, Stelios, a fantastic musician, Angelos Vlamis, a fantastic musician, Odysseas, all of these people getting up and saying, I can't play half the notes they're playing, but I'll get up anyways. And then it's the listening to other people, watching other people, seeing people set things up, deconstruct them. I think that was one of the biggest impacts in my playing. And then obviously finding fantastic band members that I communicate with and learning through that interaction with each other.
So basically, your experience at Fengaros and that, what was that? What was the ingredients? It was like kind of the acceptance, let's say, of the environment.
For me, honestly, I remember going home and looking up genre after genre, trying to figure out what was being played at those jam sessions. I would look up alternative rock, fusion jazz, acid jazz, rock jazz, whatever you want. I was making up genres to try and figure out and pinpoint where I could find a backing track on YouTube so I could play my guitar on top or the drums and try and figure out what it was, until I realized that it was just honestly this... I'm sorry, but you had a 50-year-old man playing the saxophone, then you had an 18-year-old guy playing the drums, and then you had a 20-year-old girl from some random village in Cyprus singing. And I think it was that fusion, and that's what it has to offer. There is no label for it, and there is no recipe, and there is no... You can't get this anywhere else. You go there, and that's it. You're immersed into this really... I don't know how to explain it, but it's fantastic.
I'm very happy that you say that, and I feel proud for our organization, at least, because it took a few years to get to that stage where people like you actually get influenced by that in order enough to go out and do something of their own.
It's no longer just a few people playing.
Yeah,
it's
I think that's amazing. And also maybe when you say that, it's kind of like... I wanted to ask you about your influences, and obviously you all have the internet now, you have so many other resources to listen to music and to maybe be influenced and want to be like somebody from the other side of the world. So that's one thing. But then what do you think is the difference between that and being influenced by real people, real music being played live in front of you, and you also having the opportunity to join it?
I think it's a mix of things. I mean, when you look at a celebrity, I grew up on Arctic Monkeys, I grew up on Led Zeppelin, I grew up on the Beatles. When you look at them, I think especially with more modern bands like the Arctic Monkeys, let's say Red Hot Chili Peppers, you're also looking at an image, and you're looking at lifestyle, and you're looking at money, and so it's as if there's so many filters in front of just the music and just what you're hearing, that you sort of get sucked into not just I want to play like this musician, I want to play like Alex Turner. You get sucked into this, I want to look like this person, I want to have this lifestyle, I want to have this car, and everyone does. I mean, to different extents, but everyone does. Whereas I think when you're in a village, in the middle of wherever, it doesn't even have to be Musical Chorion, if you're playing somewhere with someone who's just dressed in a simple t-shirt and pants and, you know, isn't famous, doesn't have this big glorified look, you're just looking at the music. And I think that's where the difference is. You need both, but there's just something very raw that is so stripped down, you can't be influenced by anything but the music, so you know that it's purely just that draws you in.
But it's
you
also
both.
you who are in it.
Yeah, and
Right?
you're looking at it. I mean, you're looking at it live with your eyes. You've got a front row
You're
seat
interacting
to
with
one of
it.
the most important concerts that you'll attend as a musician, I believe, and one of the most valuable concerts you'll attend. You've got the front row seat, and you're actually playing at some point as well.
So when I hear that, and when I look at myself like a long time ago, when I didn't have that first-hand interaction when I was your age, for example, it's like there's so many steps from, let's say, me to Led Zeppelin, that it's almost impossible. It's like something that's basically unobtainable. It just, yeah, you want that, you aspire to that, you want to play rock and roll, you want to do all these things, but at the same time, somewhere deep inside, you don't really believe that it can actually happen in that way. Whereas if you have, I think, this sort of step towards it, then you kind of start believing more in yourself, right?
You can grasp it more easily, I think.
Yeah.
It's like there's a difference if you see something hundreds of miles away, and there's a difference if it's at an arm's reach and you just need to take another step forward. But yeah, I think in a lot of artists in general, especially in music, I'm saying especially because I am a musician, I think the whole concept of things being so far away is such a barrier in a lot of people's progress. And there's a lot of this, well, I'm not going to make it big, so what's the point? I'm just going to go and do something else, which there's nothing wrong with doing something else if that's what you love. But if you love music and you're just putting it aside, it's a shame.
So that's basically what you're saying is like it's a mindset thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that's
completely.
one type of mindset. It's
I
like,
think it's awareness as
Yeah.
well of what's going on. Because I know when a few years ago, genuinely, if you'd asked me what my dream was, I wouldn't say get famous, because I'd say, maybe that's too difficult. It would be to play at a few of the places that I've played in the last year. It'd be like, oh my God, I want to play at Savine, or I want to play here, I want to play there. And then in the end, you're just like, oh, it's not that hard. You just need to get 3 other musicians that are just as, I don't know, crazy as you are, have a few rehearsals, go out for a few beers, put in the effort though. That's what I was saying before about the work. Make a few phone calls, embarrass yourself a bit, get rejected a bit, and you will end up where you want. But I'm talking as someone who's had a lot of opportunities as well, and a lot of people really, really helping me and inspiring me, and being very lucky to meet these people.
yeah, you're saying that, but at the same time, you need to be also aware, which I'm sure you are, that it's also your, for example, awareness, like you said, or your mindset that kind of leads you there.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, the lucky people and the unlucky people over there who didn't get the help.
Yeah,
I think we all
definitely.
have a choice in what we do, right? Like we have a choice if we're gonna go and tell the other person, do you want to play with me?
Yeah.
Do you want to rehearse
Or
these
just ask for a
songs?
bit of advice, or yeah. You
Or
got to put
ask
yourself
help,
out there.
Trust somebody to, play with you or answer a question that you have, right? I think you are doing that. So I just don't want you to be seen as a very lucky person.
No, yeah, for
know.
sure. I think it's what I was saying about the rejection thing. You've also got to be ready to be embarrassed at times. You've got to be ready to go up there and think that, I've got this, and then you don't, but you realize where you didn't and you work on it. You've got to be ready to be playing with people who are 10 times better than you, 20, 100, and you can't keep up, but you will learn why they were 10 and 20 and 100. And then in retrospect, it's something that I think I like to do, because I see myself in a lot of younger people, give people chances. So if a kid texts me and, there's someone who might not have as much experience, and they're like, I want to start a band, would you be interested? And I don't have time as well, because I've got my little family, my music family. I'm not just going to be like, oh yeah, I don't have time. I hate that, and it's something that I faced a lot. I'll be like, look, I can't do this, but do you need help with lyrics? Do you need help with songwriting? And I think this is also a huge building block in building the art culture that we have in Cyprus, that I think is very missing in younger people. And I think it's a very niche market, which it shouldn't be. And I think that's something that you guys are trying to push as well, that I greatly appreciate. But helping younger people a lot, and not having this whole, I hate this big ego, age, levels of musician thing. You don't know what a kid could come up with. There's a lot of kids who are really fantastic at what they do.
I love something you said back there, and I think it was the part, I also love the last part as well, but it was the part that you were saying, basically the part about making mistakes, right? Or the part about exposing yourself. It is a type of expression at the same time, even if it's like, okay, I don't know if I got this, but I'm going to get up there and do a little bit of that and see how it feels and see if it's me, maybe, see if it's, part of my, vocabulary of expressing myself. But also the ego thing, which to me just translates as I'm just like putting my insecurity in front of everything I want to do, and that comes out into an ego thing that, if I have the ability to the opportunity to put somebody down, I'll do it just so I feel better but you don't do that, and I think that's a good thing, and that also helps you as an artist, but also as as a person in the community, to not be seen as that, and also leaving the space.
That is also important. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything that everyone does is out of the goodness of their heart, but it's also important as a musician. You need to be respectable. You can't be going around doing stupid things. For me, it has to do with the fact that I want to have a clean conscience, and I do like helping people. Mm-hmm. I'm good with people who are good to me. I'm probably good with people who aren't good to me at times as well, if you've heard my lyrics. But I think you've got to do things out of the goodness of your heart, and I think it's also to do with relating to people a lot. And I think that's something that possibly has put me at an advantage, being able to relate. And put aside, I think, the embarrassment thing that you said, because you know me socially as well. I mean, if I'm going to do something stupid, I'll do it. If I'm not offending or hurting anyone, I will do it and run around on the beach at 3 a.m., whatever. I won't go into details.
Don't.
But yeah, I think embarrassing yourself in a good way and in a productive and structured way for learning is such a key component. And again, it's the Mediterranean, not just Cypriot culture, this whole like, oh my God, your image, you can't do this. What are people going to say? What are people going to discuss? Yeah, exactly. What are the neighbors going to say? I couldn't have put it better.
But and you get to learn so many things let's just agree on this. So many things that are involved in, let's say, the art making, or let's say just the music, are not being taught, right? I mean, how many things have you learned in the past year that there was in no textbook?
It's not, I mean, I'm sure this applies to everything, but yeah, the magnitude is shocking in music. I didn't know how to write a song, how to structure a song. I didn't know how to teach my bandmates a song. I didn't know that I had to call managers of clubs and event venues and all of this to go and play. It's such a huge thing. And it's stuff that could be taught. It's not that it can't be taught and you have to learn it this way. We've just been sort of conditioned to learn that, you know what, if you want to be a musician, you're sort of on your own. If you want to be playing live in bars and these places and those, go figure it out, go do this, go do that. But music isn't just about going and learning your notes and knowing how to read notes, which is very important, but it's not just that. There's so much to being a musician, and I think I've had contact with so many people who they might be the most talented. They can play anything that you want. And I personally will not play with them because of either their attitude, or I can't play with them because of the lack of musicianship and awareness as to what goes into a performance. It's not just the notes.
Great. Well, I've seen your band, and I think you're spectacular, even after a few gigs that I've seen, and I'm really proud of you. And I wanted to ask you a bit about your band process, and what do you do with the band, and what's your in the practice room and all these things, like getting songs together.
Okay, rewind a bit. When it comes to the band, this is like when I'm no longer the chill, I think I'm sort of the mama bear, don't touch my band members, leave them alone, whatever, because I had an instance actually after I played live that someone came and they were commenting something that I should switch out my band members. It was for their benefit. It was just a money thing, clearly. They were saying that I should switch out my band members, which for me is absolutely no chance. I mean, if anyone's watching this and is interested in hiring me as a musician, it's with them or it's with nothing. Because of, now I'll go to the process of the rehearsals, because of how smoothly everything goes. It's as if it's the musical equivalent of when you meet someone for the first time and the conversation just flows and there's no need for explanations or introductions. That's exactly how I feel with them. Anyways, emotional stuff aside.
No. I think that's really important, and it's really important for young people to hear this, because sometimes we try to form a band with the wrong.
He's got this qualification. Oh, he does
Exactly.
this. He's got this cool guitar. I'm saying
But
now.
yet, then can you communicate?
No.
That's the important thing. So, I mean, I also spent years trying to do things, trying to form bands with people that maybe wasn't flowing, like you say, and I thought maybe that's how it was.
It's
but
stagnant.
It doesn't
You feel
have
it.
to be like that.
Yeah.
I think this is an ideal. And then I played with people like it just flowed, and I'm like, oh, is this how it's supposed to be? Can this happen? But yeah, if it happens, I'm really happy for you. And then now you know how it has to be from your first step.
Yeah.
And you can't have it any other way.
Honestly, it's like having a good first relationship, because your first relationship is usually not a good
It's
one.
a family.
It's like having a good first relationship, and it just sets the bar so high. But going back to our process, I mean, most of the songs that we play live, apart from the covers, are songs that I've written the music for and the lyrics, but I usually go in with the lyrics, a general idea of the music, and I have a rule, especially with these guys. You can't not have this rule with these guys. You're the drummer, you're the guitarist, you're the bassist. You know what you're doing better than I do. I'm not a drummer or a bassist, or I'm not as good of a guitarist as Alex is. And you figure out, if you want to make a change, you make the change. If you think it fits better here, it fits better here. If you want to change something structurally, we will. That's a really, really key component of the process. I don't like the dynamic of someone thinking that, you know, it's my band, you do what I say, whatever. And honestly, I used to think there would be a lot of hours, but I think it's what I'd said before. It really aids in only needing a few hours. Putting in the hours, though, when you work, and when you play, you play. We come to the studio, we say that we're going to play the songs in this order. We're going to play them like we're going to play them at the live, because I think preparation is important. If we mess up, we mess up at the live. We just groove a bit, dance, whatever, cover it up. I look at Alex, I get worried, and then she's just like, chill. Rehearsal, I think it's just structure. And it's not time, it's quality over quantity.
Okay. And how about, like, okay, at the stage you're at now, you have, I guess, I don't know, maybe an album's worth of songs?
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
almost
Got around
there?
10, 15.
Yeah. So you have this material. Do you feel at this stage, I know you spoke a lot about this now, but do you feel at this stage like you are doing you? Do you feel like you are expressing yourself as much as you want? You're not like limiting yourself. You're not doing something because it's hip or because somebody told you it's better like that. Or, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think I'm characterizing myself as someone who embarrasses themselves too much, but it is to do with that. I don't think as a person I do things that are in or that are, you know, trending or whatever, because I don't have this fear of embarrassment. And I think growing up, I was very different to a lot of people, but it's not in the direction of, oh, I was very different, I didn't have a lot of friends. I think I was very different, but people just accepted it. So as a musician and as the way I express myself, I am very, very pleased. And I think I'm expressing myself in the way I'd like, even though there was a time where I was playing things I liked, but not so much things that were expressing who I am musically. But yeah, at this period, I really feel like lyrically, musically, even look-wise, the aesthetic of the band and the outfits and the where we'll play, the instruments, everything, the colors, I think it's a very, very who I am now, because that's something obviously that changes every few months, every few years.
And, you know, I want to point out that what you're doing is something that works. So basically, the fact that you're doing the things the way you're doing them, it also comes out in a successfully, let's say. So people like the live shows, people like the music, I mean, I know for a fact that younger people are getting positively influenced by your act and your music. So I want to ask you now, like, about the commitment to this. I think that's a pretty important part. So I know you're a person who, you know, you think about things a lot. So I don't know how you see it towards the future. Like, what is the nature of your commitment to this, and how do you see it as an artist and as a musician in the future?
I think it is a commitment, but it's been so integrated into my lifestyle that it's like I've already made the deal. It's like it's already part of the lifestyle. You know, you're going to wake up, you're going to brush your teeth, you're going to eat breakfast, you're going to go to the gym as many times a week as you're going to go. I'm also going to be doing my rehearsals, just like I'll brush my teeth, just like I'll have breakfast. I want to be playing live. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I could imagine, again, currently in the phase that I am, I don't think I could imagine a lifestyle or a sequence of years where I could be pleased and genuinely satisfied if I'm not playing live. So back to the commitment, I think my commitment is whatever it would require. If I need to go and get a bachelor's degree in music, I'm going to get a bachelor's degree in music. If I need to be having rehearsals every day and not going out, I'm going to be having rehearsals every day and not going out. If I need to... You get where I'm going.
I get where you're going. So let's analyze that a bit. Let's cut it up a bit. So the if, who sets that?
Good. Very good question. I think that's testing the waters. It's a very back and forth.
It's you, right?
Yeah, it's a very back and forth thing, and especially this industry. It's not like, I mean, becoming a doctor is really, really tired. I have a passion for biology, so that's why I know it's a very, very huge process. You know, you have 7 years that you've got to go to university, then you've got to do your specialization, then you've got to do this and you've got to do that. But you know that it's these steps. I've got to get these exams at school, I've got to get these grades, go to university and do it. Whereas I think with music, it's almost like a dance. You know, you've got to feel when you push a bit, when you pull a bit, when you got to lean back, when you got to calm down. So I think it's to do with what I put in, what I'll receive, but it's sort of an analysis of the situation and being aware of what's going on that determines whether, you know, I need to rehearse more, I need to rehearse less, I need to find new bandmates, which I don't. I need to write new songs, I need to change my crowd. I think that's you've just got to test the waters. You've got to test the waters, yeah.
So basically, you have already tested the water, you have already dipped your toes in the water, and basically it seems to me like you're ready to go in the water for keeps, right?
For sure, but again, this is a water that's constantly changing. Whatever it is, it's a lake, it's an ocean, whatever, it's changing, you know? The tide, like huge waves coming on you, crashing onto you, but you've got to put up with it. Or it might be calm. You might be doing everything fine. But I think I'm prepared, or I think, again, this is a part of my personality, and I think this is something important that no one can control or work on. I'm easygoing. I mean, I take things as they come. I don't think controlling or trying to analyze things too much helps. Just take it as it comes.
I think easygoing is not the right thing to say. I think you are flexible enough to go with life without letting fear take over your decisions, right? So you decide, oh, I'm going to go that way.
And compromise isn't a bad thing.
And
not following your initial plan isn't a bad thing.
You know, a lot of people say that, oh, that's really hard. And they start their process with that, or they never start their process because they say, yeah, but it's really hard to become a musician. And I look at them and I'm like, yeah, what isn't hard? Isn't it hard to go to law
lawyer?
school?
Yeah, there we go, same page.
So we start with that and we do it. But for some reason, with music a lot of the time, it's like, yeah, but it's really hard to learn how to do that. Yeah, but it is. But what is... So I'm investigating, like, what is that other element that makes people not do art along with but it's hard.
I think it's the exposure because, you know, if you've never ridden a bicycle, riding a bicycle is hard. But if you grow up in a system, an education system, which I think I'm bloody expert on right now, I'm in it. If you grow up in an education system where from a young age, all your focus is on the sciences, math, history, and then the arts you'll do once a week, maybe, if you do. And this is all schools. Then, yeah, of course it's going to be hard because it's so foreign to you. Whereas if it was something that was integrated into your school life, and not just your school life, I mean parents as well, that's a huge influence the way you're raised. If it was integrated into a child's life growing up, that the arts, it doesn't even have to be 50%, is 30 or 40% of their education. And the morphosindos, I could only think of the word in Greek, then the development, then yeah, obviously it's going to be scary, and obviously it's going to be hard, and obviously it's going to be foreign because it's light years away from anything they've been exposed to.
But it's also very fun.
Yeah, it is fun, but I think that's also a part of it. I mean,
Exactly. Why is it
if
fun?
we were teaching geography in schools by taking kids on field trips all the time and not actually sitting them down and making them do questions or logical things, then yeah, geography would be the funnest lesson in the world. So would chemistry if you were just doing experiments in the lab all day. But it's not. You teach kids that, yeah, you're going to go to the lab in chemistry, but you're also going to answer some questions. Whereas in music, it's usually just this, oh, let's watch a video on music or something. It's never an actual...
We're lacking real life examples, right?
Yeah, real life examples, but also taking it seriously. It's not just a filler for your school timetable. It's not just
And it's also part of life. I mean, because I see art or music or, drawing or anything, it's expression. So I think it's added to our learning and our capacity to express ourselves. So the more we are sort of narrowed down our education into reading from the textbook and learning that, then how about all the other thing outside of it? But again, biology can have a way to be experienced and also expressed as well, and all the other subjects of school. But somehow this is kind of like cut and placed in a different,
dissected.
in a weird space, which that weird space becomes...
You've taken a portion of it that doesn't even represent it and given it to people as opposed to, Going back to the school thing, I mean, I do have, and I think all musicians and artists have a lot of complaints when it comes to how music is in all schools. I mean, around the world, I think. But there was also, I can't not note down a lot of teachers who have really, and adults generally, who have really tried to help with this. I mean, I think the first and biggest, most important person that helped me was an English teacher at school, Miss Zoe. And I wanted to do music, and she would always help me with, when I was 13 or 14, writing letters to the mayor to get approval for events and doing this and doing that and taking so much time out of her busy day to help. Or we've got a cultural evening, which is something that we do at school. And you see all the kids that play music, all the kids that dance, day-to-day life, okay, whatever. And then this thing comes along and there's so much energy and there's so much excitement and so much work that goes into that production. And you see the kids who are misbehaved are suddenly behaving and listening. You see the kids who are all quiet and don't talk are suddenly talking, and they're making friends with everyone and socializing. And I think there's so much to offer, and it's such an important thing, this thing. And I'm sure that other schools have their equivalents, but this is what I was exposed to, and that also greatly influenced as a musician.
Is that one of the reasons that you are getting into music? Like, do you, in a way, like in the background, do you recognize also the sort of therapeutic elements of music, let's say, in people?
Yes, and I think in this big orchestral buzz that is what led me to music, a lot of the background noise is my exposure at school, and it is, seeing the weird kid, whether that's me or someone else actually, who didn't quite fit in there, didn't quite fit in here, suddenly, literally just slide in like a puzzle piece and feel like they're exactly where they belong. And I think it's beautiful. I don't look at a baby or a kid and go, oh my God, it's so cute or whatever, but it's always a lovely thing to see someone who's growing up actually end up where it seems like they belong.
Mm-hmm. Just couple of more things, Della. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the creative process, and basically I just want you to share somehow your feeling of that and what it means to you, what kind of space does it occupy inside of you, like the creativity part.
Anyone who knows me well, I think they describe me as a very, very, very weird blend of creative and artistic, but also very logical structure. Some things are black and white. Mm-hmm. Maybe today everything's black and white. Maybe tomorrow everything is a gray area. But in my creative process, I think from a kid, I would always just come up with like weird rhymes, weird words. So, that's the nature. But the nurture, if we're looking at the more environmental aspect of things, I think it's a lot of romance, heartbreak, ups and downs. If you listen to my music, it's not about family, it's not about friendships. Mm-hmm. It's so far only about romance. So definitely a lot of emotional influence from the romantic
Can
aspect.
we magnify that a little bit? Can we like
Ask away.
What does that feel like though? Like, does it feel like, okay, I've sort of dealt with that in this way?
Yeah, I think the songs, if you look at them in chronological order, because that's usually how they're played, just periodo, it's my first relationship, which I actually have a very good relationship with that individual now, we're friends, where I believe I behaved very wrongly. Then you have another relationship where I wasn't happy. Then you have another relationship where I, again, wasn't happy for different reasons. And I think it's the growth of a person throughout these romantic interests, because I do think that in everyone's life, I mean, growing up, you've got two parents, and you'll usually, whether it's your parents, whether it's your auntie, your uncle, whether it's your cousins, you'll look at their relationship and that becomes your standard. Then you've got your first relationship that also greatly influences how you act and who you are. So I think that, in combination with just picking up a guitar and strumming on the guitar and things coming out naturally, and then you have your third element, which is your band members, and just improvising on the spot, is my recipe for music. But it's a lot of emotion, and I think that the music is maybe not my way of resolving the issues, but it's my way of actually coming to terms with the fact that there is an issue, or there is something I'm upset about, or something I'm happy about. But that's my sort of recognition that, oh, this is important to me because I wrote a song about it, or because I mentioned it.
Part of your learning process.
Definitely.
But also initially in the beginning, you mentioned the little scene of you playing the piano and being really in the moment.
Everything is quiet.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if that is still something that comes to you when you make music or when you play music with your band. So I think that's really important to recognize. I mean, to me at least, it's important to recognize that you have access to that space of you being in the moment, you being present with what you're doing, and also, having this sort of a way to the magic, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm a very, things black and white, things are practical and logical, but you escape. It's as if you're traveling elsewhere. And I also think, again, people who know me well, if I'm upset, there isn't really anything that can shut me up, or that can calm me down, or that can make me feel, at peace, apart from music. If it's music, if it's a drive, even a drive with really loud music playing in the background is important.
So it's pretty clear that it's not just a career that you're choosing.
No.
You're just choosing everything that comes with it, and everything that comes with it is also it's your therapy, it's your lessons, it's your enjoyment, your pleasure, right? It's your friendships.
100%, and I think it's I think you said therapy now, right? Sorry. I think the therapy part is actually one of the most important ones. And when I was younger, the first 1 or 2 times I played in front of people, in front of an audience, I felt very, very, very nervous. And this is one of the only things I find so strange. It must have been the 3rd or 4th time. Just stopped. Never felt nervous again. Still don't when I play live. And it's not to do with me being like, okay, we've got it in the bag. Every single thing has been rehearsed note for note. We're going to play it note for note. I think it's just, and I think this is part of maturing as a musician. And there's so many phases of maturing that I've yet to experience. But I think a very important thing for younger musicians is to realize that when you're getting on that stage, you're not there to recite something note for note. You are there to give a performance. And that's how I found my peace on stage, because I know that's something a lot of younger people struggle with, is nerves on stage.
Why is that, though? I mean, there's many aspects, right? There's expectation, I suppose.
Definitely.
That I guess it's imposed on you by the expectation of your teachers or your parents or your peers or whoever it is. And then eventually from yourself. And then you sort of adopt that as something of yours, right? And you become this sort of stressful kid that always carries this thing until you realize that, but that's not why I'm up here. I'm enjoying this. I love music. I love performing. So what is this thing that is creating this where I'm doing it from the one hand to enjoy this, but from the other hand, hand in hand with this stress.
And
right?
it goes back to the Mediterranean. What's the neighbor going to say? I think we have this fixation as well on these are the rules. This is what's politically correct. And I've got to adhere to those rules or else something bad will happen. But actually, again, back to the embarrassment or back to not conforming. I think there's times
Shame as well.
shame. There's times when, you should follow the rules. You should be polite to people. You should be a good person if you can be a good person, whatever good person means to each individual. You should behave correctly. You should do your work if you owe things to other people. But this whole thing about, having to behave in a certain way or like sit up straight, this person's walking by, or you can't embarrass yourself because people are going to talk about it. I think that's complete and utter. That's a recipe for disaster. And that's how you build someone who's not confident. I actually think the most confident people, the most well-respected, are people who have messed up, people who have embarrassed themselves, and people who don't mind putting out their raw mistakes or their insecurities, as opposed to people who try to mask them. I think the more you try to mask it, the more you do end up embarrassing yourself.
So I would say to that being basically what we're, in a few words, is being real and being yourself. It's also liberating, and it also builds you in a way that you feel free to be yourself and not spend years and years of being embarrassed, being guilty about things, being insecure, right?
I've got about 60 to 80 years on this planet, touch wood. I'm not going to spend 20 of them or 30 of those years, 30%, if not more of my life, worrying about what someone else is going to say. I'm going to treat people with respect. I'm going to do what I can to help people if I can. And I'm going to enjoy myself and respect others. I'm not going to sit around and worry about who's going to say what and what people are going to do. And I think that's a very, very important thing. And I think it comes with experiences and it comes with the environment that you're in. It can be very, very difficult to accept. And again, I've been lucky, and this is genuinely luck, to have a family that does very, very, very much support me in who I am. We may disagree on things, but I know that if I'm gay, if I'm a different religion, no matter what I am, I know that my family will accept it. And that's something that I really, really respect, and I think is very fundamental to who I am.
Thank you for saying all those things. I kind of want to ask you about this typical question. I don't think I asked you any typical questions, but I don't want to ask you this typical question because the typical question would be, what do you aspire to for the future? But I actually don't want you to answer that, because I think that the ways that you spoke about how you want to be are more important. I mean, obviously we know you do music, and we know you love music, and we know you're committed to music, and we also know that you have all these other things that you want to follow, like be respectful to people and express yourself, and not, compromising with things that you don't need to compromise with. So I would just keep that as an answer to that question that I was thinking, because maybe you don't know that, and maybe you don't need to know that, right?
I mean, I can answer, but it's going to be very boring and stereotypical.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's not the money. I mean, a big summary of it. I just want to be on a stage with my bandmates, and I want to be playing, and I want to have people singing my lyrics as loud as they can back to me, because that means that someone else is going through what I went through, and this is making someone feel good. And also every artist, I mean, you're an artist as well. It's the biggest compliment to know that someone took time out of their day to come watch you.
Exactly.
And it's the biggest form of validation, which every single person, whether they're an artist or not, needs. So it's being on a big stage. It's not money, cars, whatever. I wouldn't mind not getting paid and playing in front of 1 billion people.
Don't say that, because they're going to listen now. They're going to be like, I heard you say
you pay me.
You didn't want to get paid.
No. I mean, if someone told me
we're opening up another subject here, and maybe we shouldn't open it.
I don't mind. You can ask and I won't answer what I don't want to, but...
no, I mean, I think we should ask... I think we should say this, actually.
I think it's good for people to know, and it's something that I don't mind putting out there.
Yeah, because that goes back to the thing we were saying in the beginning about work. So that's another thing that we have, especially here in Cyprus, like... Well, you do music. Music is a hobby. You don't get paid. No. No, we need to get paid. We need to get paid if we're going to sustain ourselves in this profession, and it is a profession, and it's trying to be established as a profession, which is pretty, it's ironic, but it's not properly registered as a profession. So yes, we need to get paid. You need to get paid. It doesn't matter how old you are.
You need to get paid.
I need to get
we
paid.
all need
It doesn't
to get paid.
matter how old I am. And yeah, so we need to say that. We need to say that because also kids that want to do this as a job need to know that, for example, they're not supposed to be going and paying venues money.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God.
You
My
have some
God.
experience
My
in
God. Jesus, you've brought back like a huge. I remember that when I was playing live, and we were good. We brought, I think, 300 people to the venue, and it was €10 per ticket, and the venue was getting half the ticket or something.
And you were paying the venue.
Yeah. We were paying the venue, I think, 30 or 40 euros each, and there was about 10 of us.
Mm-hmm.
So they get 400 euros from us. They get, if my maths is correct, which it's usually not, another 150 or more.
Why would you think that is?
Back then, as a kid.
No, now. Why?
Oh, come on! If you see a kid and
So you were getting.
If you don't have this
taken
moral thing, or if you're not an artist, which oftentimes people who own venues aren't actually artists, you don't care. You're gonna charge a kid. I'm doing them a service, whatever. It's fine. You come play, you pay me, and you can play. Whereas if you're a musician, you understand that it's not. It's so unethical. That's something that really, really, really bothers me, and I don't like. But
you're
yeah.
not going to do it ever again, right?
No. If I'm going to play for free, I'm going to play because it's for a good cause. I'm going to play because I want to play for free.
Or pay a venue to play.
I don't think I would pay a venue to play ever again. As a matter of, I don't think it's correct. And I think when people do it to kids, it's really one of the lowest forms of trying to make money.
Mm-hmm. All right, we need to wrap it up. I just want to say another last thing. You are headlining Fengaros High on the 24th of June. First of all, how do you feel about that?
Oh my God. Now I think now in my brain, because I played at Fengaros Reacts as well, I'm just like, oh yeah, whatever. But I do have these little moments where I'll think back to a few years ago when I was a kid, and I would go to Fengaros Festival with my friends, set up a tent, camp, go and watch the acts. And I would look at the acts, and I remember when I was watching Nama Dama sing Great Gig in the Sky in 2018. 17, 18.
I think it was 19, actually.
19, whatever. I was looking at her. She was singing Great Gig in the Sky with the Dark Side of the Moon project. And I was like, I want to be on that stage. So I think playing in anything that's affiliated with Fengaros, because it's also something that I do greatly respect. And I mean this again. If I didn't respect it, I'd tell you to your face. I think it's just a huge honor. And it's a very nice initiative that, it's promoting younger musicians. And I think pushing them to actually play.
And a little message to these bands out there and these songwriters that are thinking maybe to apply but are not very sure. What do you have to say to them?
It's a conversation that I was having actually, I think yesterday, with someone who told me that I want to apply, but I'm not going to be in Cyprus on the 24th of June. And I said to them, apply, get your name as a musician, get your name in as many people's emails, computers, Facebook posts, comments as you can, because that's, for me, personally, what really helped. And I think covers are good. They're a good transition, and this is actually what you told me, if I'm not mistaken. But stop thinking that you need to play covers. Play what you actually feel and play your stuff, because it might seem like people won't relate to it. It might seem like it's not that good, it's not this, it's not that. But a lot of times you'd be surprised at how much better your music or your lyrics actually are and how many people can resonate with them.
Is that what I said?
You said the first part about the covers, and then I blabbered on, as I do.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is the message.
It's a long one, but it's a good one.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. I think we went way overboard with time, but it doesn't matter. I think it's worth it. We'll see you at Fengaros Reacts Fengaros High.
You saw me at Fengaros Reacts.
Yes, that's right. We're going to see you headline Fengaros High on the 24th of June. Della, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Ευχαριστούμε την LLPO Law Firm, Gold Sponsors του Fengaros High. Goodbye.